right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I hope you guys enjoyed your long weekend. I certainly did, and that's why this video is a little bit late. But I do have a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. Now, the first story that I've got for you guys today, obviously the biggest one. Spoiler alert, if you don't want to know who won the World's Strongest Man, I'm about to say it. So here are your 2022 World's Strongest Man results. Tom Stoltman won. Martins Licis was in second. Oleksiy Novikov was in third. Brian Shaw in fourth, just missed the podium. And in fifth, you had Maxime Boudreau. So this was interesting because obviously I think the biggest conversation going into this show, at least right before it, was the big controversy around the Stoltmans. And what was the controversy? The controversy was a leaked audio clip, leaked by formerly associated with World's Ultimate Strongman WS Mark Boyd. He secretly recorded Luke Stoltman talking about Giants Live and Colin Bryce, and one of the things that he said was that they would be offered favorable events and favorable groupings, the Stoltmans would, at World's Strongest Man if they played ball with Giants Live. So it does leave a little bit to the imagination the fact that Tom Stoltman won. Now, honestly, I like Tom Stoltman a lot. I do. I don't follow strongmen very closely, not nearly as close as I follow bodybuilding, but I genuinely like the Stoltmans. They seem like really good representatives of the sport. But like I said, what they said, or what Luke said, was what he said. And the fact that they did have relatively easy groupings in the beginning, and they did both make it to the finals and not have to compete in one of the events because I think they basically qualified early for the finals, so they had some extra time to rest. And by the way, Luke Stoltman was kind of up there too. I mean, he was 7th out of these top 10. And look, Tom is obviously, I mean, he's won the World's Strongest Man before. He's obviously a great strongman competitor. But I think it is worth noting here that just a couple months ago at the Arnold Strongman Classic, Tom Stoltman was 7th at the Arnold Strongman Classic. The final results, he was like second from last. And now he just won World's Strongest Man a couple months later. And granted, there could be a multitude of reasons why his placing at the Arnold Classic was different than his placing here. But I do think it's worth the conversation. And it's hard to ignore at this point. Did this have anything to do with the audio that was leaked? Was there some kind of advantage given to the Stoltmans? I think it's kind of tainted because of that audio clip that Mark Boyd released. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Now, next up in the news, let's talk about the final results from the 2022 Cali Pro. Now, again, I know this is kind of late, but I do want to go over it now that we have the scorecards after the fact. So Charles Griffin wound up winning the show. Very impressive victory for him here. Pretty much straight votes for first. He had 5 points, and Muhammad Shaban had 10 points, and it was the same at both the finals and the prejudging, and I think he looked about the same at both the finals and the prejudging, and I think so did Muhammad. And I think the scores reflected that, because it was basically straight votes for first at prejudging, straight votes for first at the night show, and then for Muhammad, it was straight votes for second at prejudging and straight votes for second at the night show, 5 each. And I really enjoy bodybuilding shows like this where you have a really, really apples and oranges comparison, because we just had this with Charles and Blessing. Two very different physiques. I think Charles was a little bit more gnarly, muscular, a little bit more compact than Blessing. In this case, you had Charles, who actually looked to be more aesthetic than Muhammad Shaban, but Muhammad Shaban looked like he had actually more muscle. He was more dense. His conditioning was pretty good, but I think that's where Charles got him, was on density, gnarliness, graininess. But like I said, and I said this at prejudging, I think overall Charles deserved this victory. I think this is the best version we've ever seen of him, even better so than the Indy Pro. I think he used the 2 weeks in between this and skipping the New York Pro, I think was a good decision, because now he's got his ticket. He's punched his ticket to the Olympia stage. And that's something that I'm really excited to see. I think he's going to do very well at the Olympia. I think Blessing is going to do very well at the Olympia. And I think we're going to have some new names up there, some fresh faces, and I think we're going to see some guys that place in the top 10 this year that we've never seen place in the top 10 before, and maybe some guys that we've never seen compete at the Olympia this year besides just Blessing. Now, I also want to take a second to point out the other placings here. So rounding out the top 6 in third place, Tonio Burton wound up in third. I was a little bit surprised by that because that meant he beat Andrea Musi. And then in 5th place, you had Peter Clancier. In 6th place, Max Charles managed to crack that top 6. And Andrea Presti, who was 2nd at the New York Pro, surprisingly wound up in 7th place here, dropping pretty significantly from that show to this. But overall, I think it was the Charles Griffin show. Very impressive performance, very dominant performance, and I think he proved his point. With the improved midsection, with the crazy conditioning, he's finally doing it. I think he's finally got it nailed down. This is the recipe for him. Matt Jansen is the coach, and I think he's going to continue to go on and do great things. Now, next up in the news, another update as to what's going on with Big Ramy. What is happening? So, in a recent episode on Tim Budisham's YouTube channel, there was an interview with Dennis James. So Dennis James says, this is the rough translation from one of my subscribers, the conversation went kind of like this. He says, Tim says, there's a lot of rumors like Big Ramy is quitting bodybuilding or like the incident in Pittsburgh. Do you know anything about it? And Dennis says, now I'm informed. So now Dennis and Ramy have talked. Dennis has an understanding of what happened, but he doesn't want to say what it was. He says that Ramy's the one that needs to say it. He says, but until 1 week after, I did not know anything about what was going on. It was something that was not in the control of Ramy. He was on the way to the airport, and he wanted to fly. He had packed and he was ready, but I don't want to say what it was. He should do it himself, but he was so confused that he just shut down. And I can understand that. And Tim Budisham says, but is he going to quit? And Dennis says, no. Before I came here today, I talked to him for an hour. After the day, he wanted to travel to Pittsburgh. He did not train at all. He did not eat. It was a lot of stress. He goes on to say, me and Ramy made an agreement that when I'm back in the U.S., he will come as well and stay until the Olympia, and he will show himself at different shows. So it sounds like Ramy might be coming to the U.S. earlier than usual to stay with Dennis. And during that time that he's here, he's going to use that time wisely to make some appearances. And then at some point during the actual video, Dennis video calls Ramy and they actually talk, so you can see that they are back in contact, which is good. So we got the statement from Ramy. He apologized to the fans. He apologized to the Manions. He's back in touch now with Dennis James. At least we know it's nothing critical. It's not a health issue. It seems like he's okay. Now, Ramy himself did an interview as well. Now, in that interview, Buys and Tries had some key quotes here. And I thought this would be a good point because basically in this interview, Ramy says that he's going to retire in 1 year. He says, I've decided since the beginning that I will stop bodybuilding at 38 years old. My kids still ask me about it. I tell them 38 hasn't come yet. When it comes, we'll talk. I don't know what I'll do after 38, but this is something I've decided a long time. I'm 37 now. There's 1 more year left. But it sounds like at the very least, from what Dennis James said, that Ramy is planning on doing this year's Mr. Olympia and defending his title this year. But it begs the question, if Ramy does win this year, will that be it? Will 3 titles be enough for Ramy? Is Ramy thinking in his head, realistically, how many more titles can he win beyond this year? Nobody ever really wants to talk about politics and bodybuilding, but the fact of the matter is they do exist. And I also think the fact of the matter is, whether we like it or not, I think Ramy has upset some of the people that kind of control that power dynamic. And I think that whether these people say it or not, I don't think they want Ramy as a champion for another 5 years. I don't think they want 5 more years of having a Mr. Olympia that's not going to show up to their events. The IFBB is a business. The Olympia is a business. It's a brand. Ramy is representing that brand. So you got to think about what politics might potentially factor into a bodybuilding show. And I think the reality is he has upset these people. I think they're looking at the way he's carried the title for the past 2 years, and I know they're thinking, we don't want 5 more years of this same thing. I just don't think they do. And trust me, man, I hope I'm completely wrong and Ramy wins 5 more titles. I hope he ties the record. That'd be amazing. If Ramy goes on, well, he would have to win 6 more to tie the title. But that would be amazing if he did that. I would love that for him. I'm not rooting against Ramy in any way, but just purely speculative. I got to think that the moves he's been making and the way that he's been carrying this title, I don't think, A, fans are happy with it. I don't think, B, the powers that be /IFBB /Olympia are incredibly happy with the way that he has promoted or the lack of promotion of the Olympia brand or the Mr. Olympia title. It's a business. And I think if Ramy says that he always wanted to retire at 38, I think if he wins the title this year, there is a strong possibility that we never see him compete again, or at least compete for the Olympia title again. I could see I could see him being happy with 3. And realistically, how many more beyond 3 could he win if he wins a 3rd one this year? Hadi Chupin is coming for him. Hunter Labrada, Nick Walker. These young guys are nipping at his heels. Brandon Curry. I don't know. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet already. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out.